Beneath the cobblestone streets and towering cathedrals of medieval Europe lies a hidden world most of us never see, a shadowy network of tunnels, roads, and chambers carved deep into the earth. Picture this: you're strolling through a lively marketplace, the air thick with the scent of spices and the clamor of merchants, completely unaware that just a few feet below, another city thrives in silence. These underground labyrinths weren't just random diggings. They were meticulously crafted arteries of survival, trade, and secrecy, weaving beneath homes and castles like veins beneath skin. Some stretched for miles, connecting distant parts of the city in ways that defied the limits of the world above. Others were so well concealed that even today, centuries later, we're still uncovering their secrets. What drove people to carve these hidden roads beneath their cities? The answers are as fascinating as the tunnels themselves. In times of war, they became lifelines, escape routes for soldiers and civilians alike, shielding them from invaders who never knew they existed. For merchants, they were shortcuts to wealth, allowing goods to move unseen under the noses of tax collectors. And for secret societies or persecuted groups, they offered sanctuary, places where whispers could travel without fear of being overheard. But perhaps most intriguing of all are the legends that cling to these subterranean passages, tales of lost treasures, ghostly apparitions, and even entire communities that vanished without a trace. From the bone-lined catacombs of Paris to the vaulted tunnels beneath Edinburgh's old town, each of these underground networks tells a story far richer than the stones that built them. They're time capsules preserving fragments of daily life, moments of desperation, and flashes of ingenuity that shaped the medieval world. So as we descend into these hidden roads together, keep this in mind. History isn't just written in books or displayed in museums. Sometimes it's waiting just beneath our feet, etched into the darkness, daring us to listen. By the time we resurface, you'll never look at an old city the same way again, because now you'll know what lies beneath. The story of these underground labyrinths begins with necessity, the kind that forces human creativity to shine. Imagine living in a bustling medieval city where danger could arrive without warning. Walls might protect you from invaders, but what happens when those walls are breached? That's where the genius of hidden roads came in. Cities like Naples didn't just stumble upon these tunnels. They transformed ancient Roman aqueducts, once used to carry water, into secret escape routes. These repurposed passageways became lifelines during sieges, allowing entire populations to vanish beneath the earth while enemies searched in vain above ground. But defense wasn't the only reason to go underground. Picture the streets of medieval Europe, crowded, chaotic, and often filthy. In places like Edinburgh, the solution was right beneath their feet. Underground vaults were carved out to store goods, house workshops, and even shelter the poorest residents. These spaces weren't just practical, they were a testament to how medieval societies adapted to their environment. And then there's Derin, Kuyu in Turkey, where an entire subterranean city sheltered thousands, complete with stables, chapels, and ventilation shafts. It was a marvel of engineering designed to withstand months of isolation. Commerce thrived in these hidden spaces too. Beneath cities like Paris, tunnels became shortcuts for merchants smuggling goods past heavy taxes. Wine, silk, and spices moved through these shadowy corridors, creating an underground economy that rivaled the markets above. What's remarkable is how these networks weren't just random holes in the ground. They were carefully planned with arches to support weight, slopes for drainage, and even hidden doors to confuse intruders. Every twist and turn was a calculated decision. proving that medieval builders were far more sophisticated than we often give them credit for. These tunnels didn't just save lives or move goods, they shaped identities. For some communities, they were a last resort, for others, a thriving hidden world, and for us today, they're a reminder that history isn't always written in grand monuments. Sometimes it's etched in the quiet darkness beneath our feet, waiting to tell its story. London's underground secrets stretch far deeper than its famous tube system. Beneath the modern city's bustling streets, a labyrinth of medieval tunnels lies forgotten, their original purposes shrouded in mystery and legend. Take the passageways rumored to link the Tower of London to Westminster. Whispers persist that these were escape routes for kings facing rebellion, or covert paths for knights carrying out clandestine missions. But separating fact from fiction isn't easy. Some of these tunnels, like the one beneath Strand Lane, were long dismissed as myth until archaeologists stumbled upon their brick-lined arches, perfectly preserved under layers of soil and time. So what were they really used for? The truth is as layered as the city itself. While many assume these passages served as sewers, and some certainly did, others defy simple explanation. Look at the tunnels beneath the temple area where medieval lawyers once walked. These weren't just drainage systems, they formed a hidden thoroughfare, allowing legal scholars to move between buildings unseen, shielded from the chaos of the streets above. Then there's the eerie network under Clerkenwell, linked to the mysterious Knights Hospitaller. Historians still debate whether these winding corridors stored treasures, hid prisoners, or served as meeting places for rituals lost to time. The most tantalizing clues come from the accounts of those who stumbled upon these tunnels by accident. In the 1800s, workers digging near the Thames uncovered a passage lined with medieval graffiti, crude sketches of ships and symbols that no one could decipher. Later, during World War II, air raid shelters revealed sections of tunnels packed with centuries-old debris, rusted keys, broken pottery, and even a child's shoe, hinting at lives abruptly interrupted. Each discovery raises more questions. Why were some tunnels deliberately blocked off? Who sealed them, and what were they trying to hide? Modern technology is finally peeling back the layers. Ground-penetrating radar has mapped tunnels stretching beneath the Houses of Parliament, their routes aligning with old tales of secret votes and midnight escapes. Yet for every answer, there's a new enigma. Take the vaults beneath Smithfield Market, where butchers once worked. Their walls bear strange scorch marks, as if something burned there that wasn't meat. Or the crypts under St. Paul's, where echoes distort unnaturally, suggesting hollow spaces behind the stone. London's underground isn't just a relic, it's a puzzle, and each piece we uncover changes how we see the city above. The catacombs of Paris hold far more than bones. They're the silent witnesses to centuries of hidden history. While most know them as the final resting place for millions, few realize these twisting passageways began as something entirely different. Deep beneath the City of Light, workers once carved out vast quarries, extracting the very limestone that built Paris above. But when those mines were abandoned, they became something darker, something alive with secrets. Imagine walking these corridors in the 1700s, when revolution hung thick in the air. These tunnels weren't just empty spaces, they pulsed with danger. Smugglers darted through shadowed alcoves, their contraband slipping past royal inspectors. Resistance fighters plotted in chambers lined with skulls, their whispers echoing off walls that would never betray them. Even today, explorers stumble upon traces of those who vanished into the darkness. A rusted lantern here, a scrap of revolutionary graffiti there, hints of lives lived where sunlight never reached. Then there are the stories that defy explanation. Local legends speak of secret chambers where occult rituals unfolded, their details lost to time. Some claim the catacombs hold treasures hidden during the chaos of war, gold, art, even royal jewels still waiting in some forgotten corner. Others swear they've heard distant chanting in areas no map records, or felt sudden, icy drafts in passages that should be sealed. The most chilling accounts come from those who have gotten lost, describing corridors that shift when no one's looking, as if the catacombs themselves refuse to reveal their full secrets. What makes this underground maze truly extraordinary is its sheer scale. Officially, only a small section is open to the public. The rest remains off limits, a tangled web stretching over 200 miles. Urban explorers call it the Quarryman's Madness, a reference to the intricate carvings left by the original miners, some so precise they resemble cathedral stonework. Yet even modern scans can't fully map its depths. In 2005, police discovered a fully equipped cinema deep in the forbidden zones, complete with projector and seats carved from rock. Who built it when no one knows? The catacombs force us to question what we consider solid ground. Above, Paris gleams with orderly boulevards. Below, it's a labyrinth where history, myth, and something eerier still intertwine. Every skeleton on display represents a story. Every unexplored tunnel could rewrite what we think we know, and that's the real mystery, not just what lies hidden in the dark, but why, after all this time, it still refuses to stay buried. Edinburgh's underground vaults tell a story of survival, secrecy, and superstition, one etched into the damp stone walls beneath Scotland's most famous street. If you've ever walked the Royal Mile, with its cobblestones polished smooth by centuries of footsteps, you might never guess that just below your feet, an entire shadow city once thrived. These vaults weren't just storage cellars or forgotten corners. They were homes, workshops, and hideouts, pulsing with life in a world untouched by sunlight. But by the late 18th century, they were abruptly sealed, left to gather dust and whispers until explorers rediscovered them 200 years later, stumbling upon a time capsule frozen in decay. Step into one of these chambers today, and the air feels different, thicker, heavier, as if the past refuses to fade. Archaeologists have unearthed everything from rusted tools to children's toys, proof that families once crammed into these cramped spaces. But it's the smaller, stranger finds that hint at darker tales. Broken bottles with traces of smuggled whiskey, counterfeit coins minted in hidden corners, even crude gambling tables carved into the rock. This wasn't just a refuge for the poor, it was a haven for those operating on the fringes of the law, where watchmen rarely dared to tread. Then there are the stories that cling to the vaults like the damp chill. Locals swore the underground was haunted long before it was reopened, speaking of shadowy figures glimpsed in alleyways that led nowhere. Some claim the vaults were abandoned not just because of overcrowding or cholera, but because something drove people out, something that couldn't be explained. Guides today recount flickering lights in sealed corridors, voices murmuring in empty rooms, even the sensation of unseen hands brushing against visitors in the dark. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the psychological weight of the place is undeniable. Stand in the right spot, and the temperature drops suddenly, as if the stones remember the desperation of those who once sheltered here. Yet the most fascinating mystery isn't the supernatural, it's the engineering. These vaults weren't haphazard dugouts. They were meticulously designed, with arches to distribute the weight of the city above, and hidden passages that twisted like a maze. Some theorists believe they connected to the South Bridge's original blueprints, suggesting the underground was part of the city's plan from the start. Others argue they expanded organically, dug in secret by those who needed them most. Either way, they reveal a brutal truth about medieval Edinburgh. For every grand cathedral and stately square, there was a parallel world beneath, built by hands that history barely acknowledges. The vaults force us to confront a question that lingers long after we resurface. What does it mean to be forgotten? The people who lived here left behind no grand monuments, no portraits, just fragments. A worn shoe, a chipped bowl, a name scratched into a wall. Their stories are written in absence as much as presence, and that's the real power of Edinburgh's underground. It's not just a relic of the past, it's a mirror showing us the lives that history books often overlook, waiting in the silence to be heard. Venice's grandeur floats on the surface for all to see, gondolas gliding past ornate palaces, sunlight dancing on the water. But beneath this postcard-perfect scene, another Venice exists, one built not on water but under it. While tourists crowd the Rialto Bridge, few realize that below their feet, a network of submerged canals weaves through the darkness like veins through marble. These weren't accidental floods or forgotten basements. They were deliberate, engineered pathways designed to move goods and secrets without leaving a trace. Picture a merchant in the 16th century, his warehouse stacked with silks and spices from the east. Above ground, tax collectors and rivals watched every move. But below, the hidden canals became his private highway. Barrels of saffron, bolts of velvet, even gold could slip beneath the city's feet, emerging miles away in a discreet palazzo cellar. Some passages were so precisely constructed, they included grooves for guiding boats in pitch darkness, proving these weren't just shortcuts. They were a shadow economy, vital to Venice's survival as a trading empire. Then there are the whispers of what else these tunnels concealed. In the Doge's palace, rumors persist of a submerged chamber where banned books were stored, their dangerous ideas locked away beneath the waterline. Explorers in the 1920s claimed to find a vault near San Marco, its walls etched with alchemical symbols, though the rising tide swallowed the evidence before it could be studied. Even today, divers report strange currents in certain canals, as if hidden inflows from sealed passages still pulse beneath the stones. The most tantalizing clue lies in the archives. A faded map from 1583 labels an area near the arsenal as Sotterraneo per soli iniziati, underground for the initiated. Was this a meeting place for Venice's secretive elite, or a stash for treasures too controversial to display? Modern sonar scans reveal hollow spaces under key landmarks, but the silt-filled water and fragile structures make excavation nearly impossible. What makes Venice's underground unique is its duality. Unlike Edinburgh's vaults or Paris's catacombs, these passages weren't built for refuge or the dead. They served the living, enabling a city of masks to keep its greatest deceptions truly buried. Every ripple on the surface hints at what lies below, a labyrinth not of stone but of liquid shadows where history doesn't rest, it waits. Beneath Prague's fairy tale skyline of spires and cobblestones, a darker, denser world waits, one where the air smells of damp earth and ancient secrets. The city's underground isn't just a collection of cellars, it's a sprawling, centuries-old network, layer upon layer of history carved into the bedrock. Walk through the old town today, and you might unknowingly pass over vaulted tunnels where alchemists once toiled, their furnaces glowing in the gloom as they chased the secrets of turning lead into gold. These passages weren't just hidden workshops, they were sanctuaries for outcasts, meeting places for conspirators, and if the legends hold true, the final resting place of knowledge too dangerous to see the light. Take the labyrinth beneath the Charles Bridge, for instance. While tourists admire the statues above, few realize the bridge's foundations hold hollow chambers, some still littered with cryptic symbols scratched into the walls. Local lore claims these were meeting spots for the Brotherhood of the Serpent, a shadowy group rumored to mix science with the occult. Then there's the eerie case of the Clementinum's lost library. Historical records mention a collection of banned textbooks on necromancy, heretical philosophies, even maps to mythical places all vanished during the Hussite Wars. But dig deeper and you'll find persistent accounts of a secret annex beneath the complex, its entrance bricked up sometime in the 15th century. Modern scans reveal anomalies in the earth there, voids that don't match any known blueprints. The underground also played a grim role in Prague's defense. Beneath Prague Castle, narrow escape routes twist like roots, designed to spirit royalty to safety during uprisings. One tunnel, now called the Assassin's Passage, earned its name after the murder of Saint Wenceslas in the 10th century. His killers allegedly used it to flee. Centuries later, these same tunnels sheltered resistance fighters during Nazi occupation, their walls still bearing hastily scrawled messages of hope and defiance. But perhaps the most haunting spaces lie beneath the old Jewish cemetery. Here, the medieval ghetto, repeatedly rebuilt atop its own ruins, created a subterranean echo of itself. Archaeologists have uncovered staircases descending into nowhere, doors sealed behind newer graves, even fragments of a synagogue buried beneath layers of soil. Some believe these spaces held Torah scrolls smuggled from pogroms, their words preserved in the dark. Others whisper of the Golem of Prague, the clay monster of legend, allegedly resting in a hidden chamber, waiting to be awakened. Prague's underground isn't just a relic, it's a living puzzle. Every restoration project, every shifted stone threatens to reveal another piece. In 2010, workers repairing a sewer near the astronomical clock stumbled upon a previously unknown cellar, its walls covered in alchemical diagrams. Just last year, a homeowner renovating his basement broke through a wall into a tunnel lined with 17th century graffiti, a crude drawing of a winged lion, the symbol of Bohemia's kings. The past here refuses to stay buried, and that's the magic of Prague. For all its beauty above ground, its true heart might just beat in the shadows below. Toledo's labyrinth of secret passages isn't just a relic, it's a living echo of the city's turbulent past, where every stone holds a story of fear, faith, and defiance. Perched on a hill above the Tagus River, this Spanish gem appears frozen in time, its medieval streets winding like a maze. But beneath the surface, another maze exists, one carved not by chance but by necessity. These tunnels weren't built for convenience. They were acts of survival, crafted during centuries of upheaval when Toledo was a battleground for cultures, religions, and empires. Step into one of these hidden corridors, and you're walking in the footsteps of those who risked everything. During the Inquisition, Jewish and Muslim families used them to escape persecution, their belongings abandoned in cellars now buried under modern cafes. Some tunnels lead to long-forgotten synagogues, their walls still bearing faint traces of Hebrew prayers, hidden behind plaster for safekeeping. Others connect to former mosques, their arched doorways bricked up but still detectable to those who know where to look. The most haunting passages wind beneath the Alcazar, where legends claim rebels stored weapons during the Spanish Civil War, their plans whispered in darkness. Then there are the treasures, or the tantalizing rumors of them. Locals speak of the gold of the three cultures, a hoard of coins and sacred objects hidden by fleeing families. In the 1960s, a repair crew near the Santo Tomé church uncovered a chest filled with medieval Jewish texts, their pages miraculously preserved in the dry underground air. Elsewhere, explorers have found niches carved into tunnel walls, perfect for concealing Torah scrolls or Quran fragments. But the most persistent legend revolves around the lost menorah of Toledo's great synagogue, said to have been smuggled underground before the building was seized. To this day, historians debate whether it still lies hidden, waiting in some sealed chamber. What makes Toledo's underground unique is its layers of purpose. Unlike straightforward escape routes, these passages evolved with the city's shifting power. A tunnel dug by Moors for water storage might later serve as a Jewish escape route, then as a Christian wine cellar. Some staircases lead nowhere, their original entrances erased by time. Others connect to casas colgadas, hanging houses built over cliffs, their basements extending into the rock like roots. Even the city's famous steel workshops hid secrets. Beneath some forges, tunnels allowed masters to move prized blades past tax collectors. Modern technology is slowly revealing the full scope of this hidden world. Thermal imaging has detected voids beneath Plaza del Ayuntamiento, possibly linked to the old Roman sewers. But restoration teams often pause when they uncover something unexpected. A child's toy buried in a wall, a rusted key lodged in a crevice. These aren't just artifacts, they're silent witnesses to lives lived in the shadows. Toledo's tunnels remind us that history isn't always written in grand gestures. Sometimes it's etched in the quiet places where people fought to survive, their stories sealed in stone, waiting for the light to find them again. Beneath the bustling streets of Odessa, where cafe lights glow and the Black Sea breeze drifts through open squares, lies one of the most astonishing underground networks on Earth, a maze so vast it could stretch from Paris to Moscow if laid end to end. The Odessa catacombs aren't just tunnels, they're a subterranean city carved from soft limestone over centuries, first by miners extracting building materials, then by smugglers, revolutionaries, and finally, by those fighting for survival during the darkest days of World War II. To understand the scale of this labyrinth, picture this. A single section near Narubeyskoye village alone spans nearly 2,000 kilometers, its walls etched with the names of Soviet partisans who used these passages to launch guerrilla attacks against Nazi forces. But what's chilling isn't just the sheer size, it's how these tunnels became a lifeline. Hidden printing presses churned out anti-fascist leaflets. Makeshift hospitals operated in candlelit chambers. Families lived for months in the damp darkness, their only connection to the world above a series of secret vents disguised as natural sinkholes. Yet for all we know, there's far more we don't. Explorers still stumble upon sealed passages, their entrances hidden behind false walls or collapsed rubble. In 2018, a team mapping the catacombs near Moldavanka discovered a chamber filled with wartime supplies, rusting rifles, tins of preserved food, even a child's drawing pinned to the wall. But the real mystery, a narrow tunnel leading deeper, its end obscured by a landslide. Local historians suspect it might connect to rumored command centers used by resistance leaders, places where strategies were whispered by lamplight. Then there are the older secrets. Before the war, these tunnels were a smuggler's paradise, with contraband moving silently beneath the city's grand boulevards. Some sections bear the marks of 19th-century wine traders' hooks for hanging lanterns, grooves for rolling barrels, hinting at a time when the catacombs were less about survival and more about profit. But venture deeper and the air grows heavier, the walls scarred with symbols that predate even Odessa's founding. Crude carvings of ships, suns, and strange, looping patterns have researchers debating whether these tunnels were used long before the first stone of the city was laid. The most haunting legends, though, cling to the silent zones, areas where compasses spin wildly and recordings capture only static. Divers speak of flooded chambers where the water remains unnaturally still, as if something beneath the surface absorbs all movement. In one infamous incident, a group of students vanished in the catacombs in 2005, only to be found days later, disoriented and insisting they'd heard footsteps following them in passages that turned out to be dead ends. What makes Odessa's underground unique is its duality. It's both a monument to human courage and a riddle wrapped in stone. Every explored corridor reveals a fragment of history, while every uncharted turn whispers of stories still buried. Above ground, Odessa dances with life. Below, it keeps its secrets close, waiting for the next explorer brave enough to listen. York's underground whispers with layers of history, each era leaving its mark like fingerprints in clay. Beneath the city's Gothic spires and half-timbered shops, a hidden lattice of tunnels snakes through the earth, some dating back to when Roman legions marched these streets. Walk past the shambles today, and you're treading over vaulted sewers built nearly 2,000 years ago. Their brickwork so precise it still channels rainwater as efficiently as it did when emperors ruled. But these aren't just relics of engineering, they're time capsules. Archaeologists have found everything from Roman coins to medieval pilgrim badges dropped in the muck, each object a tiny window into the lives of those who moved through these shadows. What's fascinating is how each generation repurposed what came before. The Vikings, who turned York into their thriving trade hub of Jorvik, expanded underground storage pits into secret routes. By the Middle Ages, these passages had grown into a clandestine network. Local legends speak of monks smuggling relics through them during Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, their sandaled feet silent on the damp stone. Then there's the tantalizing theory that the tunnels hid something far older, a pagan shrine perhaps tucked beneath what's now York Minster. Workers restoring the cathedral's foundations in the 1920s claimed to find a chamber lined with carved serpents, though the site was sealed before scholars could study it. Modern explorations have only deepened the mystery. In 2019, engineers inspecting a collapsed cellar near Clifford's Tower stumbled upon a previously unknown passageway. Its walls bore scorch marks and odd, crescent-shaped niches features matching no known medieval design. Even stranger, ground-penetrating radar has revealed anomalies beneath the city's medieval guild hall, voids that don't align with any historical records, their purpose lost to time. Could these have been meeting places for York's powerful merchant guilds, hideouts for persecuted groups, or something more enigmatic? The most compelling clues come from the people who have ventured into York's depths. Divers navigating the submerged stretches of the River Foss report eerie currents that suggest hidden inflows from blocked tunnels. Meanwhile, archivists recently deciphered a 15th-century ledger mentioning the Undercroft of Whispers, a space where merchants allegedly gathered to exchange secrets away from prying ears. No such room appears on any surviving map, but its description matches a peculiar acoustic effect noted in certain underground chambers where whispers travel unnaturally far, as if the walls themselves were designed to carry confidences. York's hidden roads refuse to give up their stories easily. Every excavation raises new questions. Every discovery hints at a larger, untold narrative. Whether used for survival, secrecy, or sacred rites, these passages remind us that history isn't just written in books, it's etched into the very bones of the earth, waiting for the curious to listen. And as long as shadows linger beneath York's streets, the past will keep its secrets close. Beneath the windswept plains of Cappadocia, where fairy chimneys dot the horizon like ancient sentinels, lies one of history's most astonishing feats of survival, a subterranean world so vast it could house thousands. These aren't just simple caves or temporary shelters, they're entire cities carved deep into the soft volcanic rock, with labyrinths stretching 8 stories down into the earth. Imagine descending through narrow passageways, each twist revealing chambers for grain storage, winemaking, even worship, all hidden from the world above. The largest of these, Derin Kuyu, could hold up to 20,000 people, complete with ventilation shafts, wells, and massive stone doors to seal invaders out. But how did entire communities thrive in such darkness for months on end? The answer lies in ingenious design. Circular stone doors, some weighing over a ton, could be rolled shut from the inside, blocking access to lower levels. Vertical ventilation shafts, some stretching nearly 200 feet, ensured fresh air reached even the deepest chambers, and the layout itself was a masterpiece of defense. Narrow corridors forced attackers to crawl single file, while hidden shafts allowed defenders to drop rocks or boiling oil from above. This wasn't just hiding, it was strategic resistance etched into stone. Life underground wasn't just about survival, it was about continuity. Archaeologists have uncovered chapels with frescoes still clinging to the walls, their colors preserved by the constant temperature and humidity. Stables carved near the surface kept livestock close, while communal kitchens featured grinding stones and ovens. Some chambers even had rudimentary sanitation systems with channels to carry waste away. The psychological toll must have been immense, yet evidence suggests people adapted. Oil lamps flickered in niches, casting light on games scratched into tables or children's doodles etched into walls. These weren't just refugees, they were families, artisans, and believers determined to preserve their way of life. The most haunting question isn't how they lived, but why they needed to. Cappadocia's underground cities flourished during eras of relentless conflict: Roman persecutions, Arab invasions, Mongol raids. Each wave of violence drove people deeper, their tunnels expanding like roots seeking water. Some scholars believe these networks connected to distant monasteries, forming a secret highway for those fleeing persecution. Others point to cryptic symbols found in hidden chambers, suggesting some spaces served as sanctuaries for forbidden rituals. What's astonishing is how little we still know. Less than half of Derin Kuyu has been fully explored, and new tunnels are discovered regularly. In 2014, a renovation project in Nevşehir uncovered another massive complex, its entrance hidden beneath a Byzantine-era house. Ground-penetrating radar reveals voids stretching far beyond mapped areas, hinting at a subterranean web that might dwarf anything we've found so far. Cappadocia's underground cities aren't relics, they're reminders of human resilience, written in stone and shadow. And as long as mysteries linger beneath the soil, the past will keep whispering its secrets to those willing to listen. Bruges may be famous for its dreamy canals and medieval charm, but beneath those postcard-perfect streets, another world waits, one where water doesn't glisten in the sunlight but flows in darkness, where footsteps echo off centuries-old bricks, and where locals swear the past never really left. These aren't just forgotten tunnels, they're the ghost roads of Bruges, a submerged network that once pulsed with the lifeblood of trade. Picture this: in the 14th century, barges laden with wool, spices, and Flemish tapestries glided through these hidden canals, their cargo destined for markets across Europe. The waterways were so crucial, they were mapped in detail until they weren't. By the 16th century, many were sealed off, buried under new construction, or simply abandoned as the city above evolved. But sealed doesn't mean silent. Walk the streets near the Berg Square today, and you might catch whispers of the past literally. Guides leading underground tours report sudden temperature drops in certain tunnels, their breath visible in air that shouldn't be so cold. Others tell of muffled voices echoing from bricked-up archways, or the faint sound of oars dipping into water where no water flows. The most persistent legend centers on the Weeping Tunnel, a passage beneath the old fish market where visitors claim to hear a child's sobs, a grim echo, some say, of the plague years when families hid their sick underground to avoid panic. But are these just stories? archaeologists have uncovered clues that blur the line between myth and history. During renovations near the Jan van Eyck Square, workers broke through a wall into a perfectly preserved medieval canal, its silt-filled bottom littered with artifacts, a merchant's seal ring, a shattered jug still smelling of long evaporated wine, even a leather shoe, its stitching intact after 500 years in the damp. Then there's the eerie discovery in 2018, when sonar scans revealed a previously unknown chamber beneath the Deva Canal, its walls scrawled with symbols resembling those found in local folklore, said to ward off vengeful spirits. The most compelling evidence, though, comes from the city's archives. A faded ledger from 1532 mentions a tunnel collapse near the Groothuis mansion, burying a group of workers. Their names were recorded, but their bodies were never recovered. Centuries later, during drainage work, a skeleton was found in that exact spot, its fingers clutching a rusted lantern. Coincidence, perhaps, but it's harder to dismiss the accounts of modern engineers who have repaired these tunnels, speaking of tools that go missing only to reappear in sealed sections, or cameras that malfunction inexplicably in areas where the air smells inexplicably of damp wool, a scent linked to Bruges' medieval textile trade. What makes these ghost tunnels so haunting isn't just the stories, it's the way they force us to confront history's unfinished business. Bruges thrived because of its waterways, but progress demanded they be hidden. Now they linger like half-remembered dreams, refusing to be forgotten. Whether you believe in spirits or not, one thing's certain: beneath Bruges' cobblestones, the past isn't dead. It's waiting. The sheer scale of these underground networks defies belief when you realize they were carved with nothing more than chisels, hammers, and human endurance. Medieval engineers didn't have laser levels or hydraulic drills, just ropes, pulleys, and an intimate understanding of stone. Take the quarries beneath Paris, where workers extracted limestone block by block, leaving behind hollowed-out chambers that would later become the famous catacombs. These miners used a technique called room and pillar, strategically leaving sections of rock untouched to support the ceiling, a method so effective that many tunnels still stand firm centuries later. Precision was achieved through simple but brilliant tools. A plumb line, just a weighted string, ensured walls were perfectly vertical. Candles placed at intervals helped gauge straight passages, their flickering light revealing subtle curves. In Cappadocia, builders used a system of vertical shafts to ventilate multi-level cities, channeling air currents naturally through the porous rock. Some tunnels even incorporated subtle slopes for drainage, proving these architects thought generations ahead. The real genius lay in adaptation. When Roman aqueducts fell into disuse, medieval engineers repurposed them as hidden roadways, their arched structures already optimized for weight distribution. In Edinburgh, vaults were dug directly beneath streets, their ceilings reinforced with stone slabs to bear the traffic above. And let's not forget the materials: lime mortar mixed with horsehair for flexibility, or the iron reinforcements found in Toledo's tunnels, smelted from local ore. Perhaps most impressive were the safety measures. Derin Kuyu's massive rolling doors weren't just barriers, they were counterbalanced, allowing a single person to move them despite their weight. Narrow defense corridors forced invaders into vulnerable single-file lines, while hidden escape routes twisted like labyrinths, known only to locals. These weren't crude holes in the ground, they were calculated designs, each curve and corner serving a purpose. The legacy of these builders lingers in the details: a chisel mark left mid-stroke, a fingerprint pressed into drying mortar. They remind us that innovation isn't just about technology, but vision. With patience, observation, and collective knowledge passed through generations, medieval engineers achieved what modern machinery might struggle to replicate. Their greatest tool wasn't iron or rope, it was ingenuity. When enemy forces surrounded a medieval city, the real battle often happened beneath the surface, where hidden roads became the ultimate tactical advantage. Take Carcassonne's labyrinthine tunnels, carved beneath its formidable walls. While attackers camped outside, confident in their siege, defenders could slip through these passageways to launch surprise raids or smuggle in food under cover of darkness. But the genius wasn't just in evasion. Some tunnels doubled as deadly traps. In Malta's ancient capital, Mdina, narrow staircases led invaders into killing zones where defenders could drop boiling oil or unleash volleys of arrows from concealed slits in the walls. Storage chambers beneath castles held more than just grain and water, they safeguarded weapons. Beneath Dover Castle in England, archaeologists discovered a cavernous space stocked with crossbow bolts, their wooden shafts still intact after 8 centuries. These stockpiles weren't just practical, they were psychological lifelines. Knowing supplies lay hidden kept morale high even as siege engines pounded the walls above. And when all seemed lost, these tunnels offered escape. The besieged residents of Montségur in France used a secret cliffside passage to spirit away survivors during their final stand against crusaders. A route so well concealed, historians only rediscovered it in the 1990s. What's striking is how these designs evolved alongside warfare. Early tunnels were simple, but by the 100 Years' War, they'd grown sophisticated. At Château de Coucy in France, a spiral staircase disguised as a well shaft allowed messengers to descend undetected. Other castles built listening tunnels, narrow shafts that amplified the sounds of miners digging siege tunnels, giving defenders precious hours to counterattack. The most chilling adaptations, counter-sapping tunnels where defenders would dig toward enemy miners, then flood the connecting passage or ignite gunpowder to collapse it. These underground networks didn't just defend, they projected power. When King Edward I of Wales conquered Wales, he built castles with tunnels leading straight to the sea, ensuring his troops could resupply no matter how fiercely the Welsh resisted. In reverse, attackers used tunnels to undermine walls. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 was hastened by Ottoman sappers hollowing out passages beneath the Theodosian walls, propping them with wooden beams they later burned to trigger collapses. Yet for all their strategic brilliance, these hidden roads carried a grim irony. The same tunnels that saved lives could become tombs. At the Siege of Antioch, crusaders fleeing through tunnels found exits barred, trapping hundreds in darkness. Other passages, like those beneath Malta's Fort St. Elmo, still bear scorch marks from last stands where defenders fought chamber by chamber. These spaces weren't just engineering feats. They were stages for humanity's rawest struggles, where every twist in the stone held the weight of survival or surrender. Beneath the veneer of medieval markets and bustling trade routes thrived a shadow economy, one that moved in whispers through tunnels and cellars, far from the watchful eyes of tax collectors and kings. These hidden roads weren't just escape routes or sacred spaces. They were the lifeblood of an underground trade network where fortunes were made and laws were bent. Picture a merchant in 14th century Paris, his stall stacked with silks and spices under the midday sun, while beneath his feet, a labyrinth of tunnels pulsed with activity. Barrels of untaxed wine rolled through damp passageways, their destination a clandestine cellar where the city's elite could indulge without lining the crown's coffers. The real masters of these covert operations weren't just opportunistic traders, they were often the very people entrusted with upholding the law. In ports like Bristol and Bordeaux, customs officials turned a blind eye for a cut of the profits, while monks with access to extensive cellar networks became unlikely smugglers, moving everything from salt to forbidden text. One notorious tunnel beneath Bruges connected a monastery's wine cellar directly to the docks, allowing shipments to bypass the city's heavy tariffs. The system was so efficient, it operated for decades before a disgruntled apprentice revealed its existence. Smugglers employed ingenious tricks to stay ahead of authorities. Some tunnels featured false walls or drop chutes that could swallow contraband at a moment's notice. In Toledo, merchants used hollowed-out olive barrels to hide gold, rolling them openly through streets before vanishing into underground storerooms. Others relied on acoustics. Certain passages beneath York were designed to amplify the sound of approaching footsteps, giving smugglers precious seconds to hide their goods. The most brazen operations even mimicked official trade. Records from Venice describe counterfeit customs seals being pressed into wax underground, allowing smuggled goods to blend seamlessly into legitimate shipments. But the risks were as high as the rewards. Punishments for getting caught could be brutal fines, public floggings, or worse. In Lübeck, a tunnel collapse exposed a black market ring trading in Baltic amber, leading to mass arrests and executions. Yet for every smuggler caught, a dozen more adapted. When authorities in Augsburg began inspecting carts at the city gates, traders simply shifted their operations to tunnels beneath the walls, using pulleys to lower goods into waiting hands on the other side. What's fascinating is how these networks mirrored the legitimate economy, complete with hierarchies and specialization. In Naples, the Pizzare tunnel experts descended from Roman aqueduct workers, commanded steep fees for guiding smugglers through the maze-like passages. Meanwhile, in Edinburgh's vaults, counterfeiters operated hidden mints, producing coins so convincing they destabilized local currencies. The line between criminal and entrepreneur blurred underground, where necessity and greed forged alliances across class and creed. These hidden roads didn't just move goods, they shaped cities. The wealth funneled through them built palazzos and funded cathedrals, their origins discreetly scrubbed from official records. Today, archaeologists still uncover caches of smuggled items, a hoard of Venetian glass beads beneath a London tavern, or a stash of forged trade permits in a Seville cellar. Each discovery peels back another layer of a system that thrived in the gaps between law and survival, proving that even in the medieval world, the most lucrative roads were often the ones no one was meant to see. The darkest chapters of religious persecution often unfolded underground, where faith became a whispered secret and stone walls held prayers too dangerous to speak aloud. For centuries, these hidden tunnels and chambers sheltered those whose beliefs made them targets, transforming cold, damp passageways into sacred spaces where hope refused to die. In Rome's catacombs, early Christians gathered by candlelight to bury their dead and celebrate communion, carving fish symbols their secret code into the walls. These markings weren't just identifiers, they were acts of defiance, a way to say, we are still here in a world that wanted them gone. But the need for such sanctuaries didn't end with antiquity. During Spain's brutal Inquisition, Jewish families converted to Christianity under duress, known as conversos, continued practicing their faith in secret. Beneath the whitewashed walls of their homes, they dug cellars with concealed Torah arks or mikvehs, ritual baths fed by underground springs. In Toledo, archaeologists recently uncovered a tunnel leading from a medieval house to the Tagus River, its walls etched with Hebrew psalms. The family who built it risked everything for these moments of stolen worship, their footsteps muffled by earth as they descended toward fleeting freedom. Some of the most poignant discoveries are the smallest. In southern France, a hidden chapel was found behind a false wall in a wine cellar, its crude altar still holding a tarnished silver chalice and a fragment of bread likely left in haste when the worshippers fled. Nearby, candle soot stains the ceiling in concentric rings, hinting at years of secret midnight masses. Even the architecture tells stories of ingenuity. Certain tunnels twist unexpectedly, designed to confuse pursuers, while others feature whispering galleries where spoken prayers could travel safely between chambers without echoing to the surface. The weight of these spaces lingers long after their builders are gone. In Prague's Jewish quarter, a tunnel beneath the old New Synagogue still bears the fingerprints of children pressed into wet mortar, likely hidden there during pogroms. In Orvieto, Italy, an entire underground city once sheltered Waldensians, a Christian sect branded as heretics. Their frescoes survive in startling detail, simple crosses, kneeling figures, and a recurring motif of doves symbolizing the Holy Spirit moving unseen through the darkness. What's remarkable is how these sacred spaces adapted to their constraints. Without soaring arches or stained glass, they distilled faith to its essence, a shared meal, a whispered prayer, a symbol scratched into rock. They remind us that holiness isn't bound by grandeur. Sometimes it's found in the quiet resistance of those who dug not just to hide, but to remember who they were. And though many of these tunnels are empty now, the echoes remain not just of fear, but of the unshakable belief that even underground, no one is ever truly alone. Every hidden passage has its ghosts, those lingering whispers of stories too strange to dismiss entirely, yet too uncanny to fully believe. Take Edinburgh's South Bridge vaults, where visitors report sudden chills in airless corridors, or the sensation of being watched in empty chambers. Guides there tell of a figure called Mr. Boots, a shadowy presence said to stalk the tunnels, his footsteps echoing long after tours have ended. But dig deeper, and you'll find these tales often have roots in real tragedy. Records show the vaults once housed a cobbler who worked himself to death in the gloom, his leather boots left behind, still upright as if waiting for his return. Then there are the treasures, or the desperate hope of them. Beneath Prague's old town, legends swirl around the lost library of the Brotherhood of the Serpent, rumored to hold alchemical texts capable of turning lead into gold. In the 1920s, a student claimed to have found a fragment of this hoard, a single page inscribed with cryptic symbols before vanishing into the tunnels. His notebook was discovered weeks later near a collapsed passage, its final entry reading, "The walls breathe here." Whether his disappearance was foul play or something stranger, the story endures, fueling expeditions to this day. Some myths blur the line between history and haunting. Beneath Bruges, locals speak of the drowned monk, a spectral figure seen gliding through bricked-up canals. The tale likely stems from a chilling reality. During the Middle Ages, workers sometimes drowned in these tunnels when tides surged unexpectedly. But what keeps the legend alive are the modern accounts, divers repairing canal walls who swear they've glimpsed a robed figure in the murk just beyond the reach of their lights. The most persistent legends, though, revolve around curses. In Toledo, a tunnel sealed since the Inquisition is said to guard a menorah of solid gold protected by a warning etched into its entrance. "He who disturbs this place shall walk in darkness." When archaeologists finally opened it in 1987, their lamps failed simultaneously, forcing them to retreat. Coincidence, perhaps, but similar stories echo from Odessa's catacombs, where explorers speak of laughter from nowhere, or Derin Kuyu's deepest chambers, where equipment malfunctions in spots marked with ancient crosses. What makes these stories endure isn't just their eeriness, it's how they fill the gaps in our understanding. When historians can't explain a blocked tunnel or a hidden chamber, folklore rushes in with answers. A child's shoe found in a Paris catacomb becomes proof of a lost orphan. Scorch marks in a York passageway hint at a secret witch's trial. The truth may be mundane, but the human mind craves mystery. These underground labyrinths aren't just physical spaces, they're mirrors, reflecting our deepest fears and wildest hopes. And as long as shadows linger where the light can't reach, the stories will keep coming. Archaeologists brushing away centuries of dirt in places like York and Naples often uncover more than just stone walls. They find fragments of lives once lived in darkness. In the buried vaults beneath Edinburgh, excavators discovered children's toys carved from bone, their edges worn smooth from tiny hands. Nearby, the remains of makeshift beds and cooking hearths revealed families who called these damp chambers home, their existence hidden from the sunlit world above. But it's not just personal items that tell the story. In Odessa's catacombs, a single rusted spoon found wedged between rocks bore teeth marks likely gnawed by someone starving during wartime, a silent testament to desperation etched in metal. Some of the most revealing discoveries aren't objects at all, but traces left behind. In Derin, Kuyu's underground city, fingerprints pressed into clay mortar show where builders smoothed walls over 1,000 years ago. Beneath Bruges, the grooves worn into stone steps by countless footsteps hint at the bustling traffic of smugglers and merchants. Even the soot-staining tunnel ceilings speaks volumes lines of blackened rock mark where torches burned night after night, guiding people through the labyrinth. Then there are the mysteries that refuse neat explanations. A chamber beneath Toledo's synagogue contained a stack of shattered mirrors, their purpose debated to this day. Were they used for clandestine signals or perhaps rituals lost to time? Similarly perplexing are the witch marks carved into beams under York's shambles, crisscrossed lines thought to ward off evil, clustered near tunnels where plague victims were secretly buried. Perhaps the most poignant finds are the ones that humanize the past. In Paris's catacombs, a small leather shoe was found nestled beside a child's skeleton, its stitching still intact. Nearby, a scrap of fabric with faded embroidery suggests a mother's attempt to bring beauty into the gloom. These fragments remind us that these tunnels weren't just escape routes or storage spaces. They were backdrops for love, fear, and resilience. Modern technology is revealing even more secrets. Ground-penetrating radar in Rome recently mapped a network of tunnels beneath the Basilica of San Clement, their walls covered in medieval graffiti, crude drawings of ships and prayers for safe passage. Meanwhile, DNA analysis of skeletal remains in Edinburgh's vaults identified strains of tuberculosis, offering clues about how disease spread in these cramped quarters. Yet for every answer, a new question emerges. Why were certain tunnels deliberately collapsed? Who left behind the hoard of silver coins found beneath a Prague tavern? And why did they never return? The stones whisper, but they rarely speak plainly. What's clear is that these underground worlds were never just shadows. They were alive with stories, waiting for us to listen. Preserving these hidden roads isn't just about saving stone and mortar. It's about safeguarding the whispers of countless lives that once moved through them. Today, many of these underground networks face silent threats. In Naples, centuries-old tunnels crumble under the weight of modern construction, their arched ceilings cracking as vibrations from above weaken the fragile tufa rock. Edinburgh's vaults battle rising damp, their walls slowly dissolving in the relentless moisture. And in Odessa, illegal dumping and unchecked urban expansion threaten to erase entire sections of the catacombs, burying wartime stories beneath rubble and debris. The fight to protect these spaces is a race against time. In Rome, archaeologists use 3D laser scanning to map the catacombs millimeter by millimeter, creating digital backups in case physical preservation fails. Bruges has installed a network of humidity sensors in its ghost tunnels, monitoring the delicate balance that keeps centuries-old brickwork from disintegrating. But the challenges are immense. Funding is scarce, and many sites lack the fame of above-ground landmarks, making them harder to rally support for. some tunnels, like those beneath Toledo, are so unstable that conservators can only work in short shifts, painstakingly reinforcing walls with materials that mimic the original stone. What's at stake isn't just history, it's humanity's collective memory. These tunnels are time capsules, preserving details no parchment or painting could. In York, the layers of silt in Roman sewers contain pollen grains that reveal ancient diets, while the soot in Paris's catacombs holds clues to medieval air quality. Even graffiti matters. A crude sketch of a ship in a London tunnel might be the only surviving image of a lost vessel. Local communities are stepping up in unexpected ways. In Cappadocia, villagers once wary of outsiders now lead tours through Derin Kuyu's depths, using visitor fees to fund preservation. Teenagers in Odessa volunteer as catacomb guardians, reporting damage and leading cleanup efforts. And in Edinburgh, a group of stonemasons' apprentices has dedicated weekends to repointing vault walls, using techniques passed down from medieval builders. The hardest part, deciding what to save. With miles of tunnels spanning continents, choices must be made. Some argue for focusing on sites tied to major historical events, like Prague's resistance hideouts. Others push to protect spaces that reveal everyday life, the smuggling tunnels, the hidden chapels, the makeshift homes. Perhaps the answer lies in balance, honoring both the grand narratives and the intimate, overlooked stories. Because when we lose these hidden roads, we don't just lose passages in stone, we lose portals to the past, and with them, the chance to understand how ordinary people endured, resisted, and dreamed in the dark. Descending into these ancient tunnels today isn't just an adventure, it's a dance with danger and discovery. Urban spelunkers, armed with headlamps and historical maps, navigate pitch-black corridors where the air can turn toxic in minutes. In Odessa's catacombs, pockets of carbon dioxide lurk like invisible traps, while unstable ceilings in Edinburgh's vaults threaten collapse without warning. Yet the risks haven't deterred explorers like Mikhailo, a Ukrainian historian who spent decades charting unmapped sections beneath his city, his most startling find. A wartime diary tucked into a crevice, its pages detailing partisan strategies in trembling handwriting, a voice from the past preserved in the damp darkness. The rewards of these expeditions go beyond thrills. In Rome, a team scanning the Domitian Stadium's hidden tunnels uncovered graffiti of gladiator battles, rewriting assumptions about ancient spectatorship. Beneath Exeter, a lost medieval passage yielded a trove of Tudor-era shoes, their soles stamped with symbols that revealed a clandestine cobbler's guild. Each discovery stitches another patch onto the quilt of history, proving these tunnels still have stories to tell. Technology has transformed the hunt. Laser scanners now map crumbling passages in 3D, while drones fitted with thermal cameras probe areas too hazardous for humans. In Naples, researchers using ground-penetrating radar recently detected an entire Roman theater buried beneath the modern streets, its existence hinted at in ancient texts but never confirmed. Yet for all our gadgets, some secrets refuse to surrender. The labyrinth under Malta's Valletta still defies full exploration, its flooded chambers swallowing sonar signals like whispers in the void. What drives people to keep searching? For some, it's the chance to solve enduring riddles like the fate of the lost Legion of York, whose armor fragments keep surfacing in sewer excavations. For others, it's the visceral connection to those who walked these paths centuries ago. One explorer in Bruges described standing in a sealed tunnel, her flashlight illuminating a child's handprint in the mortar, and feeling the weight of all the untold lives that passed through the darkness. The future of these explorations hangs in a delicate balance. Preservation laws clash with the urge to uncover, while social media's glow tempts reckless amateurs into fragile spaces. But when done right, each expedition honors the legacy of these hidden roads not just as curiosities, but as testaments to human resilience, because every tunnel entered, every artifact documented, is a promise to the past: we haven't forgotten you. The future of uncovering these hidden roads isn't just about digging, it's about seeing through stone itself. Cutting-edge tools like LiDAR, which uses laser pulses to map terrain with pinpoint accuracy, are peeling back layers of earth without a single shovel strike. In the dense forests of Central Europe, this technology has already revealed the faint outlines of medieval escape tunnels beneath forgotten castles, their paths obscured by centuries of overgrowth. Meanwhile, ground-penetrating radar sends electromagnetic waves deep into the soil, painting a picture of voids and structures invisible to the naked eye. Just last year, beneath the bustling streets of Cologne, this method detected a previously unknown network of Roman-era tunnels, their walls lined with inscriptions that could rewrite trade routes of the ancient world. But the real game changer, artificial intelligence. Archaeologists now feed thousands of tunnel scans into machine learning programs that spot patterns humans might miss. A slight curve in a wall that suggests a hidden chamber, or sediment variations hinting at deliberate collapses. In York, AI analysis of radar data pinpointed a mysterious circular void beneath the city's medieval guild hall, possibly a clandestine meeting space for merchants. And in Naples, algorithms cross-referencing historical tax records with tunnel maps uncovered evidence of a massive smuggling operation, traces of which still linger in the salt-crusted walls of forgotten passages. The potential discoveries on the horizon are staggering. Scientists speculate that Lisbon's earthquake-prone geology might have preserved entire underground neighborhoods from the 16th century, sealed like time capsules beneath modern foundations. In Istanbul, whispers persist of a lost Byzantine cistern connected to the Hagia Sophia, its vaulted ceilings possibly hiding priceless mosaics. Even small towns hold surprises. Rural churches in Provence are now suspected of sitting atop uncharted crypts, thanks to anomalies detected by drone-mounted thermal cameras. Yet with every breakthrough comes ethical questions. Should we disturb spaces that served as final refuges for persecuted communities? How do we balance exploration with preservation when exposing tunnels to air can crumble centuries-old mortar? Some teams are pioneering non-invasive solutions like muon tomography, a technique that uses cosmic rays to create X-ray-like images of dense structures. It's already been deployed in Egypt's pyramids and could soon map Derin Kuyu's deepest chambers without risking a single scratch to the stone. What excites researchers most isn't just finding new tunnels, it's reinterpreting old ones. Recent isotopic analysis of mortar samples from Toledo's underground revealed traces of imported sand from North Africa, proving medieval Spain's trade networks stretched further than records indicated. Similarly, DNA extracted from soil in Edinburgh's vaults identified long-vanished food staples, painting a vivid menu of what residents ate while hiding from plague or persecution. These aren't just technical feats, they're bridges to the past, letting us ask questions previous generations couldn't fathom. The next decade promises to blur the line between archaeology and time travel. Imagine strapping on augmented reality goggles in Bruges and watching holographic merchants roll barrels through ghostly canals beneath your feet, or feeling your phone vibrate as you walk over a Parisian sidewalk, alerting you to the Catacombs' bone-lined galleries 30 meters below. As these technologies mature, we're not just uncovering history, we're learning to walk beside it, one invisible footstep at a time. Walking through these underground labyrinths today isn't just possible, it's an unforgettable plunge into history's hidden corners. Cities like Edinburgh and Paris have opened sections of their subterranean networks to the public, offering guided tours that blend storytelling with spine-tingling atmosphere. In Edinburgh's South Bridge vaults, visitors shuffle through damp corridors where flickering lanterns cast shadows on walls once lined with smuggled whiskey barrels. Guides recount tales of the poor souls who lived here, their voices dropping to a whisper when pointing out the faint scratches left by residents on the stone, tiny, desperate marks measuring the passage of time. The air smells of wet earth and old wood, a visceral reminder that these aren't sanitized museum exhibits but spaces where real people once huddled in darkness. For those craving grandeur, Paris's catacombs deliver a spectacle unlike any other. Descending a narrow spiral staircase, visitors emerge into a realm where skulls and femurs are stacked in macabre patterns, forming walls of human remains stretching into the distance. The sheer scale is staggering. 6 million souls rest here, their bones arranged with eerie precision during the 18th century to solve the city's overflowing cemeteries. Tours wind through a fraction of the 200-mile network, passing altars carved from rock and plaques bearing poetic epitaphs. The temperature drops the deeper you go, the silence broken only by the occasional drip of water, a haunting experience that lingers long after resurfacing into the sunlight. Not all accessible sites trade in gloom. Cappadocia's Derin Kuyu, with its vast underground city, offers a different kind of wonder. Visitors duck through low archways into chapels, stables, and even wineries carved 8 stories deep. The ingenuity of its design, ventilation shafts, rolling stone doors, comes alive as guides demonstrate how entire communities thrived here for months. Unlike the claustrophobic tunnels of Europe, Derin Kuyu's chambers feel surprisingly spacious, their ceilings high enough to dispel unease. The occasional shaft of light from above-ground openings adds drama, illuminating frescoes of crosses and fish left by early Christians. But access comes with responsibility. In Bruges, tours of the medieval ghost canals are tightly controlled to preserve fragile brickwork. Groups are small, and touching the walls is forbidden, not just for conservation, but because locals swear the tunnels harbor restless energy. One guide recounts how a tourist's camera malfunctioned in a section where 2 children allegedly drowned centuries ago, the photos later revealing strange streaks of light. Whether you believe the tales or not, the reverence for these spaces is palpable. Some sites demand more than just a ticket. To explore Odessa's catacombs legally, visitors join organized expeditions led by historians, equipped with helmets and radios. The maze is so vast that getting lost without a guide is a genuine danger, a fact underscored by the occasional discovery of modern debris left by reckless adventurers. Yet the reward is raw history: Soviet partisan graffiti, hidden printing presses, and the chilling bullet marks from World War II executions. Then there are the rarities like Toledo's Jewish escape tunnels, accessible only through special permits. These narrow passages, concealed behind innocuous cellar doors, reveal Hebrew inscriptions and hidden mikvehs where families practiced their faith in secret. The emotional weight here is profound. Guides often pause to let visitors absorb the gravity of these spaces, where every scratch in the stone tells a story of fear and resilience. For history lovers, these tours aren't just sightseeing, they're time travel. Standing where medieval merchants smuggled silk or where resistance fighters plotted revolutions bridges the gap between past and present in a way no textbook can. Yet each site balances access with preservation, ensuring that while the public can witness these wonders, they'll endure for generations still to come. The real magic lies in the details, the coolness of ancient stone under your palm, the way shadows dance where torchlight once flickered, and the unmistakable sense that you're walking in footsteps history almost forgot. The tunnels beneath our modern cities might seem light, years ahead of medieval passageways, but dig a little deeper, literally, and the similarities become startling. Take something as ordinary as subway systems. The London Underground's labyrinthine tunnels aren't so different from the smuggling corridors beneath medieval Bruges. Both were designed to move people and goods efficiently, hidden from the chaos above. Even the engineering principles echo across centuries. Medieval builders used arches to distribute weight, just as modern engineers reinforce subway walls with curved concrete. The real difference, instead of torchlight, we have LED panels, and where merchants once rolled barrels by hand, electric trains now whisk commuters at 60 miles per hour. Yet some parallels are less obvious. Modern sewers, for instance, mirror the multi-purpose ingenuity of medieval tunnels. Beneath Paris today, wastewater flows through channels that follow the exact paths of ancient limestone quarries, the same quarries that later became the catacombs. Medieval engineers carved grooves into tunnel floors for drainage, a primitive version of the sloped concrete we use now. And just like their ancestors, modern workers still navigate these spaces with caution, though today's hazmat suits have replaced leather aprons and candle lanterns. Then there's the resurgence of underground bunkers, a trend that feels ripped from the siege strategies of medieval castles. Wealthy elites now build luxury doomsday shelters, echoing the hidden chambers where nobility once waited out invasions. In Montana, a modern bunker complex boasts air filtration systems eerily reminiscent of Derin Kuyu's ventilation shafts. Both were designed to sustain life when the world above turned hostile. The materials have changed, reinforced steel instead of stacked stone, but the fear driving their construction hasn't. Perhaps the most poignant continuity is how these spaces reflect societal divides. Medieval tunnels often housed the marginalized, the poor, the persecuted, the criminals. Today, beneath cities like Las Vegas, a shadow population lives in storm drains, their existence as hidden as the families who once took refuge under Edinburgh's streets. Even the aesthetics carry echoes. The brutalist concrete of Cold War bunkers shares a stark, utilitarian beauty with the vaulted ceilings of medieval crypts. What truly connects these eras, though, is human adaptability. Whether carving a tunnel with chisels or boring one with a tunnel boring machine, we keep returning to the same solution. When space runs out above, we dig deeper. The next time you ride a subway or descend into a parking garage, remember, you're part of a tradition that stretches back to the first medieval worker who ever thought, there's got to be a better way down here. For every tunnel we've mapped and every legend we've traced to its roots, there are a dozen mysteries still buried in the dark. Take the case of London's lost Templar tunnels. Historical records from the 13th century describe a network connecting Templar properties, but despite centuries of searching, no one has found the main passageways. Builders occasionally hit hollow spaces beneath the city, like the vault discovered during the construction of the Chancery Lane subway station, its walls marked with symbols that match Templar seals. Yet the full extent of this system remains elusive, leaving historians to wonder, were these tunnels destroyed or are they still down there, waiting beneath modern foundations? Then there are the whispers from Naples, where locals speak of a ghost tunnel that surfaces in old property deeds but vanishes from modern surveys. The legend centers on a passage supposedly linking the royal palace to the sea, used by nobles fleeing uprisings. In 2018, a team using ground-penetrating radar detected an anomaly beneath Piazza del Plebiscito, a straight, man-made void running toward the waterfront. But before excavations could begin, bureaucratic hurdles stalled the project, leaving the tunnel's existence unconfirmed. Similar stories haunt Prague, where medieval chronicles mention a golden lane below, a subterranean mirror of the famous alleyway, rumored to house alchemists' workshops. Sonar scans have revealed cavities beneath the current buildings, but their purpose still a riddle. The greatest enigmas aren't just about physical spaces, they're about the people who used them. In Odessa's Catacombs, explorers found a makeshift classroom from World War II, its chalkboard still bearing half-erased Cyrillic letters. Nearby lay a child's doll, its fabric disintegrating, and a single boot. Who were these people? Did they survive? Their names are lost to time, their stories reduced to fragments in the dark. Even harder to decipher are the cryptic markings found in tunnels across Europe, symbols carved into walls that resemble everything from Masonic codes to pagan protection sigils. In York, a series of interlocking circles appears in multiple locations, a pattern matched only in a single obscure manuscript about medieval water divination. Was it a guild signature, a religious symbol, or something else entirely? Technology may soon rewrite what we think we know. LiDAR scans in Rome recently revealed anomalies beneath the Basilica of St. Paul, outside the walls, hollow spaces that don't match any known blueprints. Could these be the lost burial chambers of early Christian martyrs, mentioned in texts but never found? Meanwhile, advances in DNA analysis are unlocking secrets from the smallest traces. In Edinburgh's vaults, sediment samples yielded traces of opium and mercury, hinting at long-rumored underground apothecaries. And in Toledo, spectral imaging has detected faded Hebrew texts beneath layers of plaster in sealed tunnels, texts that might rewrite our understanding of the Inquisition's shadow economy. Yet some mysteries resist even cutting-edge tools. The singing tunnel beneath Vienna, for instance, emits an eerie hum when wind passes through its arches, a phenomenon documented since the 1700s but never fully explained. Engineers have measured the sound's frequency, matched it to no known instrument, and theorized about air currents, but stand in that tunnel when the wind rises and explanations feel inadequate. It's a reminder that some secrets aren't meant to be solved, only witnessed. What keeps researchers digging isn't just the thrill of discovery. It's the realization that these tunnels are conversations with the past, and we've only just begun to listen. Every uncharted passage, every unanswered question is an invitation to look deeper, because history isn't a closed book. It's a labyrinth, and we're still finding the turns. The hidden roads beneath medieval cities are more than just relics, they're windows into the past, revealing the resilience, creativity, and secrets of our ancestors. These tunnels and chambers weren't just practical solutions to the challenges of their time. They were testaments to human ingenuity, built with nothing more than simple tools and an unshakable will to survive. From the defensive labyrinths of Cappadocia to the shadowy trade routes under Bruges, each passage tells a story of adaptation, defiance, and sometimes sheer desperation. They remind us that history isn't just written in grand battles or royal decrees, it's etched into the very earth, in the quiet spaces where ordinary people carved out their survival. What's astonishing is how these underground networks still speak to us today. Walk through Edinburgh's vaults, and you can almost hear the echoes of whispered conversations from centuries past. Stand in the bone-lined corridors of Paris's catacombs, and you're confronted with the fragility of life itself. These spaces aren't frozen in time. They're alive with lessons about resilience, community, and the lengths people will go to protect what matters most. They challenge us to rethink what we know about the past, offering glimpses into lives that official records often overlooked. The mysteries we've uncovered so far are just the beginning. With every new technological advancement, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, AI-assisted archaeology, we peel back another layer of these subterranean stories. Who knows what revelations lie ahead? Perhaps we'll finally solve the riddle of London's lost Templar tunnels or uncover the truth behind Toledo's sealed chambers. Or maybe we'll stumble upon something entirely unexpected, a discovery that rewrites our understanding of medieval life. One thing's certain, the past never truly stays buried. As we wrap up this journey, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever explored any of these hidden roads, or do you have a favorite underground legend? Drop your stories in the comments below. I read every one. And if you enjoyed this dive into history's depths, don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures into the unknown. Until next time, keep looking beneath the surface. After all, the most extraordinary stories are often the ones hidden in plain sight, waiting just beneath our feet.